second segment now, where we're going to take a look at the overhook side and kind of generally the counters we're going to look for. So the first segment, we have this double 2-on-1 control, right? Really important. It's the one that's going to keep us safe in most of the time. And we're going to fall to the strong side, either by our choice or it was Tamara that took us over. And the first little part, we're just going to there's two grips we can take here. One where I go double wrist grip, which requires a little bit more strength, but if you get a good grip, you're good to go. And we're usually just passing this arm over our head. Okay. The second grip that you can take, I call it lower and hardy just because I had an instructor that used to name it like that. It's from a show. But he puts his hand to the cheek like this, and then he walks his hand over the top of his head to get the arm across. I think it's a little bit more technical, okay? I know there's a few counters where we kind of defend chokes by putting our hand underneath, just so we can intercept that arm and then walk it over. But they're essentially the same counter. So stick to those two and you should be good, right? And here comes the last little bit, okay? There's 3 techniques that follow up from here. But the crucial arm is this one. I need to create a frame on Tamara's hip to stop her from getting on top. So I'm going to, first of all, just shrimp and try to turn into her and keep that shield in place. Now, generally, Tamara's going to try to come up and mount us. That's the most common little scenario, right? 1 second. So to avoid that, we're going to go for our 3 main escapes now, which is probably the best one in my opinion. It's going to 1-leg X, where as she's mounting, I'm just going to hip escape a little bit and try to get my bottom knee in as she's trying to mount. So I push her off, my knee goes in, and we end up in the 1-leg X position where we can start attacking the foot and going for different techniques, right? Again, that's our first little option. If we go against the same counter and I come up on top, often, maybe this leg isn't coming over the top, but we were stuck over here. And I'm not going to be able to get to 1-leg X now, but set up a good elbow escape. So if she, again, comes up on top, I'm going to stuff that knee in, get into half guard. If I can re-swim for an underhook, that'll give me my best chance to counter attack. So I shoot for the underhook, punch block, and now we're in a half guard with an underhook. And maybe if my partner's not ready, I can come up behind and expose the back. Worst case scenario there, you lose the underhook battle and she's the one that gets you in top half guard. So be cautious about that. Try to get a shin shoulder or something inside. And the third option is trying to get to top position, right? And this is mainly for those guys who really like playing top, don't really enjoy playing bottom. And it's a bridge to the other side. So the main thing here, I'm going to try to block her bicep to stop her from closing in the space too much, and we do a massive bridge turning in and most likely ending up in close guard. That's why I recommend this the least one, because it's hard work getting out of close guard from there, and you're down on points as well because the person took those 2 hooks. All right, so that's the segment of our first counter, which is bringing that arm over the top. By the way, we never want to do this while we're kind of on the middle, right? It gives opportunity for Tamara just to go for an arm bar straight away, right? So we always bring the person to the side first, and then we start doing those escapes. Otherwise, again, you're going to get your arm taken quite easily. The second segment now, okay, from these scenarios are actually dealing with the choke. So at this point, she actually manages to get this kind of collar grip over here. And anytime they have a collar grip, sometimes it's harder for us to bring that arm over the top. So we're going to take this 2-on-1 grip where I grab the material and the triceps anywhere around here. And we call this the shotgun escape. I'm basically pulling this as hard as I can. And if Tamara tries to extend for the choke, we're just trying to slip our head, look up, and we'll end up in that same technique pattern as before, where if the leg is inside, we're probably going to stuff into half guard. If she tries to mount, I'm going to shrimp and try to get to 1-leg X. So you can see a little pattern there. That's pretty much going to happen in most instances where Tamara's trying to come up on top of me. So The only other technique that you probably need to be aware of is the trouser grip for a bow and arrow. Again, as a pattern, anytime she grabs this grip, I'm still gonna go for these 2-on-1 because that brings our survival rate a little bit higher. But now if she has that grip over there, it's a little bit harder for me to turn into her. It's gonna mess up my counter. So we do need to deal with it, okay? And we do it by grabbing the pinky, extending our legs and breaking the grip. And at this point, because she doesn't have much control of my upper body, like she did before where she had the collar grip or seatbelt, I can actually spin out of this quite easily. We call it alligator roll, where I just go turning like this. And again, she might have 2 hooks in, it doesn't really matter. But we can unwind the choke if I just keep rolling, and then ending up again on the other side where we're trying to get to that one leg X position, right? It's a handy one to know because people love going for bow and arrow chokes all the time. That's pretty much the most common scenarios you're gonna get along with. There's only one other technique that, well, 2 that Tamara can kind of try to pull off, and it often comes when you're trying to bring this arm over the top, which is the arm triangle, where we manage to get to here, but I start sliding this over, and Tamara accepts the fact that I've escaped, and as a last-ditch technique, she tries to go for an arm triangle by shooting that arm through and going in, right? So at this point, as long as I'm aware of this technique, I should be able to bring my arm over the top really quickly and try to shrimp into her to start kind of turning in. We generally don't do that for arm triangles, but because this one, it was set up from the back, it requires a lot of fidgeting on her part, all right? So as soon as I realize that arm is going over there, I can actually just, because there's a lot of leg work she has to do. She has to take this one out from the bottom and then that one there. So there's loads of space there for you to swing that arm around. It's only really if you're sleeping and kind of turning this way, that she'll get a good, decent grip to kind of finish you off. In terms of submissions, that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna go over one more, which is the 1 hook dilemma. And we're gonna see this from both sides, the weak side and the strong side. But this is a scenario where one of Tamara's hook is out, but she still has kind of like this kind of position with a seatbelt and she's on the strong side. We want to avoid a second hook at all costs because that will give her the points. But as a rule, we do an alligator roll once more, anytime there's only 1 hook. And we're going to see this from both sides, where I'm just going to turn. She's probably going to follow me, okay? So as she's following me, we're going to basically change the orientation of the escapes, and we'll end up on the weak side, on the underhook side, sorry, right? Which we'll learn later on that it's back to the floor counter. That's going to kind of go both ways. If we start the drill again, but it was on the strong side, we'll probably end up on the underhook side. And if Tamara comes up again, we do exactly that same counter where we slide in and come up to 1 leg X. We'll see that escape once again later on, but just remember, the person only has 1 hook, you're gonna do that alligator roll to get out of the situation.